Good morning, everyone. Paul Ruppel here with Fox 29 News Now. Hope you're having a great day. Want to get you to a couple of stories that are breaking at this moment. The first is Steve Keeley's been following all morning long a shooting that occurred last night in Westchester, Pennsylvania. A multi-state manhunt for this man is now over. 59-year-old Bruce Rogel has been found dead after opening fire on his ex-wife and murdering his parents in a Chester County senior living facility. It started last night in West Bradford Township when Rogel opened fire on his ex-wife at the home they used to share together. He then went to the Billingham Senior Living Center in East Goshen Township. That's where officials say he shot and killed his parents. Steve's going to have a full report for us coming up. We'll get you to that. In the meantime, we're watching for a news conference out of Washington, D.C. That's where authorities are expected to announce an arrest in the murder of a jogger there. 35-year-old Wendy Martinez was out running in Washington, D.C. Tuesday night when she was stabbed by an unknown man, unknown to her. Police had released surveillance video of the situation. Martinez stumbled to a nearby restaurant where she collapsed. Good Samaritans tried to save her, but she died at the hospital. Authorities are expected to announce an arrest at this news conference here, which is about to begin in Washington, D.C. So we'll take you to this live as it happens. Again, this is Metropolitan Police Department. The Chief, Peter Newsham, along with Mayor Muriel Bowser, are expected to speak. Let's listen in.
I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the Mayor of Washington, D.C. I'm joined by Peter Newsham, the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Councilmember Jack Evans, to provide a briefing on the arrest in the murder of Wendy Martinez. Wendy was a D.C. resident, a jogger, and a proud resident of Washington, D.C., and member of our community. She was senselessly murdered near where we stand at 11th and P Streets Northwest on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. While people acted quickly, including our emergency responders, to try to help Wendy, she succumbed to her injuries. Wendy's murder has been devastating to her family and friends, people in this neighborhood, and certainly damaging to all of our senses of safety. I want to thank MPD, our detectives and officers, on their quick investigation of this crime. I want to let you know that MPD made an arrest last night, and we feel very confident that we have in our custody the person responsible for this murder. I want to turn to Peter Newsham to provide you more details.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Bowser. As you know, this past Tuesday, September 18th, just before 8 p.m., members of the 3rd District responded here to this carryout for the report of a stabbing victim. When they arrived, they found 35-year-old Wendy Martinez suffering from life-threatening stab wounds. She was being tended to by members of the public, including a nurse from our community. DC Fire and EMS responded. They transported Wendy to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead. What we have learned from our investigation at this point is that Wendy, who was known as an avid runner, was jogging westbound on P Street. When she arrived at this intersection, at 11th and P, the suspect was at the intersection and stabbed her. We believe that there was only one person involved in the assault. We do not have any information to suggest that Wendy knew or had any association with the suspect in this case. We also do not have any information at this point to suggest that it was a robbery. So the motive in this case right now is unknown. Yesterday morning, we released surveillance video showing a person of interest in the case. A combination of information that we received from our 3rd District patrol officers and tips from the community helped our homicide detectives establish the identification of this person of interest that was shown in the video. Homicide detectives last night searched the surrounding areas. They located this individual in a park at 14th and Girard Street Northwest. He was transported to the Homicide Division for questioning. Sufficient probable cause was established, and this morning we arrested and charged 23-year-old Anthony Crawford of Northwest D.C. with first-degree murder while armed. Wendy, as most of you know, was recently engaged. She was an accomplished professional who, by all accounts, was beloved by family and friends. I cannot even begin to imagine what her fiance, what her family, what her mom, what her brother, what her friends are going through right now, and I want to extend our heartfelt condolences to this family. I also want to thank the community for their assistance, not only for attempting to provide medical assistance on the scene, also by being cooperative with our detectives and responding to the homicide unit on the night of this offense, and lastly by providing the tips which were instrumental in closing this case. I also want to recognize the efforts of our 3rd District Patrol officers, our homicide unit, and in particular Detective Alexander Vogel. We can take, I think, any questions that you all might have.
Chief, can you give us any details about Mr. Crawford? Was he homeless? Did he have a history of mental illness? I mean, is there anything you can provide?
He was living in Northwest D.C., so he had a home in Northwest D.C. So he was not homeless. It's not our understanding that he was homeless.
Any history, any background?
He does have a criminal history. We are still going over that to identify the extent of that criminal history.
Have investigators been able to glean any kind of motivation here?
We don't have a motive in this case. We do not.
Can you talk a little bit about how you tracked him down? How important was that surveillance video?
The surveillance video, like I said, and the cooperation of the public in providing tips was really the key to closing this case. Having patrol officers who were familiar with the community and the folks in this community was also helpful. Whenever you have, kind of this unexplained type of brutal attack that happens in our city, we do everything we possibly can to get to the bottom as quickly as we can. And so it was a combination of efforts by the community, by the police, that we're able to get this guy relatively quick.
Hold on one second here. Straight ahead.
We heard that this suspect may have had some wounds on his hands. Was he injured in any way?
The suspect was taken to the hospital for an injury that he has on his hand, yes. The suspect did not cooperate with us. Yes? All of that will be looked into, and as you know, we will look very carefully at the suspect's past to see if there was some indication that would lead someone to this type of violence. So we will be taking a look at not only his criminal past, but if he had any mental health issues or substance abuse issues that potentially you could have taken care of. Yeah, that type of information will become available once he's presented in court, that kind of detail. We were able to talk to multiple witnesses, and we don't have anything to suggest that there was any type of confrontation between the two. It looks like it was an unprovoked attack. Yeah, a couple things about the video, although it was a little bit grainy, and I know you've all seen the video, there was a very distinct shirt that the suspect was wearing. You could see that he was wearing sweatpants. He had white socks and sandals on. I think that uniqueness of the video is the type of thing patrol officers, like I said, had a very good sense as to who this person of interest was. We had some folks in the community who did a fantastic job of identifying this folks. We were able to marry up that information. And fortunately, we were able to locate this suspect over at 14th and Girard. we were able to establish a little bit more probable cause, and we had enough to make an arrest. Yeah, without getting into too much detail, our understanding is this happened very quickly. The victim in this case, and I have a hard time talking about this publicly because I know that there is a family who is watching, and this is a difficult thing, I think, for them to have to relive. But she was injured very severely. She made her way into the carryout behind me. Thankfully, there were some folks in the carryout who really went above and beyond to try and help her until police and fire could arrive on the scene. But unfortunately, they couldn't do enough to save her life. We're still combing through his criminal history. We don't have. I'm going to let the ambulance pass. We're still combing through his criminal history right now, but we do not have any indications of violence in his criminal past. I don't have that information. I mean, I don't know if the mayor wants to comment. What I would say is, I live in this city. I think that it is unsettling for anyone who lives in this city to see something like this happen. This is a very isolated instance. You don't see crimes like this very much, even during the course of my career. So it's a very unlikely thing that occurred here at this intersection. At the same time, I'm sure that doesn't bring any level of comfort to the Martinez family.
Again, you've been watching a news conference with Metropolitan Police in Washington, D.C., where they're announcing the arrest of 23-year-old Anthony Crawford. He's charged with first-degree murder in the stabbing death of 35-year-old Wendy Martinez in the Logan Circle section of the city. I want to get you to another breaking news story that's occurring. You might have seen it pop up on your screen momentarily. This is a shooting that's occurred in Aberdeen, Maryland. Information is just coming in about this, but authorities say there are multiple victims in this shooting. We're getting a live shot from one of our a sister station, or a station, CBS station out of Baltimore, Maryland, WJZ. One of their reporters is occasionally popping into the shot and talking about what's happening here. Let me read you a little bit of information that we do have. There are multiple victims in a reported active shooter situation in Harford County near Baltimore Thursday. The Harford County Sheriff's Office said there were multiple victims after a shooting was reported in the area of Spasudia Road and Perryman Road in the Aberdeen area at about 9:10 a.m. Authorities have urged people to avoid the area and said the situation is still fluid. As this reporter from Baltimore was standing there with his live shot, you could see emergency vehicles streaming into the area. We don't have any more information than that, but the ATF and the FBI have confirmed they have agents responding to the scene. And Maryland Governor Larry Hogan tweeted, "They're closely monitoring the horrific shooting in Aberdeen. Our prayers are with all those impacted, including first responders. The state stands ready to offer any support." Let's listen in for a little bit to the shot there.
They were saying that he's a hostage.
Wow.
So, hi.
It sounds like just a static shot. The reporter might be talking to his station. Again, this is a reported shooting scene in Aberdeen, Maryland, Harford County. Let's come back to me for a minute. The sheriff's office said multiple victims after a shooting was reported at about 9:10 a.m. Authorities have urged people to avoid the area and said the situation is still fluid. Any additional information we get, we'll share with you during our stream here on Fox 29 News Now. In the meantime, I want to get you to a story that I mentioned earlier. This was something that our Fox 29 Steve Keeley was following this morning. A multi-state manhunt for this man is over.
Bruce Rogel's life ended right where his violence all began, in the same driveway of the house he lost to his wife in their divorce. His silver Honda minivan crashed into the side around 1 a.m., 8 hours after he first came here, and shot at his ex-wife 6 times as she had to hood up on her own car, changing its oil. A neighbor tells Fox 29 News Rogel appeared drunk, staggered as he shot, then fell out of his van flat on his back after shooting at his ex-wife before getting back in it, driving 2.5 miles to the retirement home where his mom and dad in their late 80s lived, shooting and killing both of them at 6:15. Then no one saw him again until he drove his minivan right past Pennsylvania State Police at their office in Embryville, leading them on a 2-mile chase right back to his former house where it all ended.
We were on the lookout for the suspect. He drove on Strasburg Road past the Embryville Barracks, pursuing troopers who were already out on the look for him, spotted the driver, and a pursuit was initiated and went through the county. At that time, we had aviation already in the area also searching for him. At that time, he proceeded to come up to the original victim's house. He crashed into that house. After he crashed into the house, a gunfire exchange happened with the pursuing troopers that were already on scene following him. The suspect was then removed from his vehicle from the county CERT team, and first aid was rendered. However, the suspect was deceased at the scene.
You can't believe it. Yeah. I think everyone is still shaken up. A lot of people didn't go to work today. Some kids stayed home. Yeah. A lot of kids stayed home, and there's just you just don't think it would happen here. Everyone, you see it all the time, but it did, and now it's, I don't know, it'll never be the same. Like, you always kind of think like, wow, it can happen here.
What made him want to kill his mom and dad near 90 years old? Was he under the influence? And how many shots did he and state troopers fire at each other? Among the many lingering questions for everyone involved here. In Chester County, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
Again, that was Steve Keeley reporting from Westchester, where the shooting occurred last night. The suspect was ultimately found dead in the driveway of his former home. Let's get you to some other local stories right now. The search is on for a child sex predator in the city's Somerton neighborhood. A 13-year-old girl says she was sexually assaulted walking home from school. She helped police make a sketch of the man she says attacked her. The most distinguishing feature is a crooked nose. The teen was walking home from school on a wooded path when she said he dragged her behind a fence and threatened to kill her. Police say the attack was random and he probably lives in the area. And police have released a sketch of this man wanted for the sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl in Philadelphia's Somerton neighborhood. In New Jersey, a hotline is set up by the Attorney General to report sexual abuse within the Catholic Church, and it's ringing off the hook. In Trenton, the church is under investigation by a task force probing priest sex abuse with a hotline running 24/7 for victims. It was set up after the Pennsylvania's Attorney General found 1,000 victims were abused by more than 300 priests. New Jersey Catholic Church officials say abuse victims required to remain silent by settlement agreements can speak publicly about their ordeals. In the meantime, we're expecting a news conference in New York from Cardinal Timothy Dolan, the Archbishop of New York, where he's expected to hold a press conference and announce a new archdiocesan initiative in response to the ongoing sexual abuse crisis confronting the church. If we get a live feed of that, we will bring that to you as soon as we can. The Navy says a sailor from Mercer County has died after an accident aboard an aircraft carrier. 21-year-old Joseph Minaglek was on the USS George H.W. Bush when he was struck and killed by the spinning propeller. He joined the Navy a year and a half ago after graduating from West Windsor Plainsboro High School North. The Navy says the cause of the accident remains under investigation. fired Philadelphia police officer charged in a deadly shooting is getting a new judge. The district attorney's office has asked Judge Patrick Dugan to step aside in the case against Ryan Pownell because Dugan is married to a city police lieutenant. Prosecutors have charged Pownell with criminal homicide in the death of 30-year-old David Jones. Prosecutors say last year the officer shot him in the back. Pownell's attorney says he was legally justified in his actions. Sentencing options for Bill Cosby include prison, jail, and probation. The entertainer could be sent to prison next week for drugging and molesting a woman at his suburban Philadelphia home in 2004 in what became the first celebrity trial of the #MeToo era. Cosby is due in court Monday for a 2-day sentencing hearing that follows his conviction in the spring on 3 felony counts of aggravated indecent assault. Associated Press reports that the judge's options are broad because the state guidelines range of about 1 to 4 years spans the gamut from a prison term to a jail stint to house arrest or probation. The maximum term is 10 years per count. Lawyers for the 81-year-old legally blind Cosby will no doubt stress his age, health problems, legacy, and philanthropy as they plead to keep him at home, while prosecutors hope to call other accusers to paint Cosby as a sexual predator deserving of prison. We'll be there next week for the sentencing of Bill Cosby. We'll bring you live reports as they happen. Let's get a look at our weather. Here is ultimate Doppler radar. See, there is some rain to our north and west, but not expected to impact us today. We'll keep clouds around for most part today, especially to the north and west. Highs should be near to just a touch below average. Let's get a live look outside our studios. Let's dial up that camera for you. There we go. You're looking at Old City, just outside our studios. Current conditions, it's 70 degrees outside. Dew point is 62. As we talked about yesterday, we had a string of days where the dew point was over 70. We've finally dipped below that, 62, and we've been staying there for the last day or so. Winds are out of the east at 8 miles per hour. Here's a look at your current temperatures. There you see Philadelphia in the 70s, points to the south, generally in the 70s, and then to the north, 60s, as low as 58 in the Poconos. Northeast temperatures at line of 70s generally around the Pennsylvania-Maryland line. Baltimore 74, Ocean City, Maryland 73. 50s up in Maine, 75 back in Cleveland. And a look at the temperatures across the nation. High 80s in Florida and along the Gulf Coast, parts of it. A little bit cooler in the desert today. Las Vegas 71, Phoenix 75 at this point. 50s along the Pacific coast. As we mentioned, wind speeds generally calm, a couple spots where it's a little bit higher than that. Wildwood 12 miles per hour. Not much to speak of in the way of wind gusts, but it looks like they're coming out of the east. Visibility not too bad across the area. A little foggier up in Pottstown and Mount Pocono. A little bit of visibility decrease in Allentown at an 8. Heat index, not too bad, considering it's not too humid out there, although dew points in the 60s is not super comfortable, but it's getting better out there. Here's another look at Doppler. Not much in our area to speak of. Your weather by the numbers for today. Transition right out, but it's an 8. Back to our live camera shot. Let's get you a look at the 7-day forecast. 73 today. That graphic for Fox 29 salutes should be on Friday there. Come on down to outside our studios at 4th and Market Streets to enjoy the events and help salute our military and public servants. So an 8 today, 8 tomorrow, 8 on Saturday as well. Eagles play on Sunday there. You'll see the first day of fall between Friday night into Saturday morning, I believe. 70s over the weekend. Looks like a rain chance on Sunday. Cloudy on Monday and partly cloudy on Monday. More clouds Saturday and Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll warm up a little bit back to perhaps 80 on Wednesday. Here's radar for you again. Taking a look at what we have going on live feeds right now. We'll go to the stock market for a moment. Stocks are up 223 points at the moment. Earlier this morning, Fox Business Network put out an alert. The Dow Jones Industrial Average reclaimed its all-time high. That's after yesterday the Dow rallied 159 points as tariffs were seen as less damaging, according to their reporting. There you see the Dow Jones Industrial at 26,635. Let's go back to Harford County, Maryland, where there are multiple victims reported after a shooting. You're seeing a helicopter shot now of authorities at the scene. Looks like an apartment complex. Well, there may be homes across the street from an apartment complex there. This is Aberdeen, Maryland, Harford County. We're told there are multiple victims of this shooting. We're going to watch here for a couple of minutes. See if we can get you some more information about what's happening here. Our sister station in Baltimore, Maryland is reporting that police will brief the media on the active shooter situation they've had here at 11:45 a.m. One of the reporters has an unconfirmed number of people shot. Again, as we mentioned, the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives, and the FBI are on the scene of what's reported to be an active shooter situation here. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan's put out a statement. We are closely monitoring the horrific shooting in Aberdeen. Our prayers are with all those impacted, including our first responders. The state stands ready to offer any support. You're looking at shots from Sky Fox there in Harford County, Maryland. Fox Baltimore is reporting that the shooting happened at Liberty Support Facility, a portion of the Rite Aid Distribution Center. Not sure what that other scene was that appeared to be near an apartment complex, but Liberty Support Facility, a portion of the Rite Aid Distribution Center, is reported to be the location of the shooting. Again, police will brief the media on the situation at 11:45. We'll carry that for you live on fox29.com and our Facebook page. Let's listen. It sounds like they're talking to some witnesses here.
Hendrickson, you live here in Perryman. Take me through how your morning started and when you first knew something had gone wrong.
Well, it just seemed to be an average rainy morning, just average day, average work. I was just walking to get to the bus stop here, and there was one of my neighbors that said, "Hey, watch out, there's an active shooter, like, down the road." And I was like, oh, I didn't think it was, like, here, but I just kept walking as I was right through the middle of this cemetery right here, and I saw all these police cars, and I saw like 2 ambulances come barreling out, and some people like pulled off in that little alcove trying to watch, and then I was hearing gunshots, and I was like, oh no, they meant like right here in the neighborhood, and it just got really chaotic really fast, and it was raining in the middle of it, and I don't think anybody quite knew what was happening, and we had so many police cars, and we had at least 3 choppers that I counted in the air, and I know they're still there, and roads are still closed, they're still looking and investigating, and it was just crazy. And you wouldn't think with this kind of like sleepy, calm area that anything like this would happen.
While you were kind of a captive audience, stopped in your tracks, did you see ambulance come and go? Did you see anybody who was hurt?
No, I saw them go in, but at that point in time they told us to, or anybody that was not needed to be in the area, to move down to safe zones and to move down the road, and they put up caution tape, and I saw a lot of ambulances go in. I know at least they were saying at least 3 victims at the time when I was listening, and I don't know. I just hope that most people are safe in there, and it's just crazy, and it's real when it's brought to your doorstep like this. But I don't know how many people were injured. I don't know how many people died. I get the feeling it's really bad, though.
Thank you so much.
Can I get your name one more time?
Yes, Colleen Hendrickson.
HEND.
RICKSON.
Very good, and lives in Perryman.
And I'm sorry, at the very beginning I wasn't recording.
Again, you've been listening to a witness being interviewed there who heard gunshots in the area of this shooting in Aberdeen, Maryland. I want to take you to a different story right now. This is occurring right now, and we've got a live shot of it. It is the Philadelphia 76ers announcing their new general manager, Elton Brand. This has already begun, but let's listen in and hear what they have to say. Apologize, having a little bit of trouble with the audio there. Let's see if we can get that set up for you.
Possible changes for our organization, every team.
Mike Sealski from the Philadelphia Inquirer and Daily News, Philly.com. For Josh, given the way that Brian Colangelo's tenure ended, how great a factor was, for lack of a better way of putting it, Elton's image and integrity? The idea, you talk to him, everybody knows he's a nice guy, his reputation precedes him. How vital was that factor in light of what happened with the Twitter burner scandal?
Yeah, I think ultimately, Elton was the best individual for the job across the board. There were many factors in it, but everyone's aware of Elton's credentials as a player and how many years he spent in the NBA. But what we learned through the process of interviewing was that he had a great vision for how we could win a championship. He was a great leader. He was extremely well thought of internally and understood our culture and what we were trying to do. So all of those things were important. Integrity is always, you start with integrity and end with integrity. And if that's not, number one, then you don't do it. Obviously, you don't always get it right. But I think that all of that stuff was important, and he was the right guy for the job.
Tom Moore for the Bucks County Courier-Times. Congratulations, Elton.
Thanks, Tom.
I was wondering how much you will factor analytics into what you do.
That's a great question, Tom. So analytics is a great tool, and we've built one of the strongest analytical departments in the league, in my opinion. But I'll bring the human side. I'll bring the 17 years of evaluating talent and being on the court to add to the analytics. For example, when you see the board, when you see the computer and what it spits out in the numbers, there may be a player that might not fit. And I know that. I know what it'll do to the locker room. Or there may be a player not only using analytics to predict the future, but I think I can help use it to change the future, meaning identify a player that analytics say, he's done, or something else might say, oh, he can't play anymore. But us being close to a cap team, bringing in those players that can pay dividends for a great value, that's where the human side comes in. But, yeah, analytics is a great tool.
Brian Seltzer, Sixers Digital. Elton, when did you know along your journey that this type of position opportunity was something that you wanted to aspire to get to?
So when I loosely retired the first time, or maybe it was the second time, but one of those times, I was offered the assistant GM job over 4 years ago with another team. So it was my goal to be prepared for this moment ever since then. So I've been, studying everything. I've been a part of big trade calls that didn't happen, but ownership has given me great unparalleled access to the behind the scenes for years.
This wasn't just something that you had your eye on this type of thing for a while. I mean, what piqued your interest about this type of?
So what originally piqued my interest was my opportunity in player development, just seeing what it is. I love to play basketball, but then I said, okay, I can also work basketball. It was intriguing, putting a team together, being a part of something special. And what we have here with Coach Brett Brown, the talented players that we have here, this organization, it was a no-brainer for me.
Elton, Kristen Rogers, Fox 29. How would you describe your current relationship with Brett Brown, and how do you foresee that changing and developing and what needs to be a close partnership?
Yeah, it's already a close partnership. It's a unique partnership. He's coached me before. We've had lunches when I had nothing to do with the team, and I'd give him advice. He gives me advice. He's an advocate for me. So it's not a big deal for us to be in a partnership, to be aligned and unified on a goal to win a championship. That's just what it is. And he's right there looking at me. But that's just what it is.
Elton, Danny Pomel's NBC Sports Philadelphia. You've been the number one pick. You know what Markelle Fultz is experiencing as far as the pressure and what it takes to live up to those expectations. Shooting video comes out today of him putting up a lot of shots. First of all, have you seen the video? What do you think of it? And what did you anticipate some of the challenges be with him bouncing back this year?
Oh, absolutely. So we spoke. We spoke as, number one pick to number one pick. And my stance was always, it's not about this practice or this game. It's the big picture. And I've been so encouraged about what I've seen. Special young man. I know why he's the number one pick, and he's going to do great. I've been very encouraged about what I've seen. I came in when I got the job. It was 8 o'clock at night. Stayed till 10. Who was here? This is after practice. Before practice today, earlier today, who's here in the gym? He's been working tirelessly to develop and become a great player. So I'm very encouraged. I love what I've seen. Absolutely.
Jack McCaffrey with the Delaware County Daily Times. I'd like to ask Josh, this general manager-coach partnership, is that something new in your structure? Were your previous general managers partners with the coach? And if I could just add on to that, of those other candidates that you interviewed, were any of them resistant to the coach general manager partnership concept?
It's not new. It's something that we've aspired to, and I think had over the other GMs, and there wasn't a lot of resistance to it. I mean, we never. So I think that that's what I would say.
This question's for Elton. John Johnson, KYW News Radio 94 WIP. Elton, at what point could you give us a timeline of when, whether it was Josh or Brett or anybody else in ownership, came to you with the idea of possibly being general manager?
For sure. So for the last 4 months, our group has been acting as management from the draft, trade decisions, free agency. This is what we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 months. So there were some outside candidates. We understood that. And then they said the internal candidates will get a shot. So that's when I said, okay, there's a chance for me to lead and step up.
Do you recall when, like date-wise, around it was?
It was in the last probably 6 weeks. They reached out and said, hey, we're going to be interviewing some outside candidates, some external candidates, but the internal candidates are going to get a shot.
We were very focused on draft and free agency through mid to late July. Then we dug in and just did we were very thorough, did a huge amount of research, and then the interviewing started after post Labor Day of many of the candidates. We interviewed over 10 people, and Elton rose to the top.
Mike Sealski from the Inquirer and Daily News again. For Josh, this is, I think, by my count, you're the 5th general manager, counting Brett, that you've had during your tenure of ownership. Tony DeLeo, Sam Hinkie, Brian Colangelo, Brett, and now Elton. What, if any, common thread links those candidates? What are you looking for in a general manager?
Yeah, so I think high integrity. I think this is the NBA is evolving, and it is very much becoming a players' league. The people that can attract the best players and keep them happy, have them work well together as a unit, take care of them. Ultimately, those teams are the teams that are going to win. So increasingly, it's a decision that we're making on behalf of bringing someone in that has the best opportunity to do that with our players. And then after that, you need you're also leading. You're leading an organization, communication skills. So those would be some of the things that we would be focused on.
So if I could just follow up really quickly. So given that outline, do you then think that it hurt you this past offseason in trying to recruit that kind of talent, but you did not have a general manager?
I don't think it really hurt us. I mean, I think that obviously, we did our best to attract, a major free agent. I think that we showed well in the off season, and I think the team was ready to do it. And so, but certainly having going into next year, with Elton having some time under his belt, that'll be more optimal.
Danny Pomel's NBC Sports Philadelphia again. Elton, what an incredible journey this has been for you. You were a blue chip high school athlete, went to Duke, #1 pick, Team USA, LA, here. You produced a movie somewhere in the mix there with Christian Bale in it. Just talk about the journey to getting here and being at this pinnacle.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but always the emphasis was based around basketball and my love for basketball. So when I took the first player development spot, it was because I loved the game and I wanted to give back to the game. So I was always on a trajectory to be a general manager. There was a speak of, with leadership, of a succession kind of plan that I'd be there. It's faster than even I thought, but I was prepared and I'm prepared now. I mean, I wasn't squeaking because I was running slower, but I was on the court, and I think that bodes well into all this and my relationship with the players, with the staff, with the front office, with Brett. And the goal, as I'm going to continue to say, is to win a championship, however that happens. If I don't get the credit, that's okay if we get there and when we get there. Absolutely. Old school Chevy still, yeah.
In the parlance of basketball ops, though, he's a new school Tesla. So.
I like it.
Jack McCaffrey again. Josh, if I could. Without getting into their results, your last two general managers were private, quiet, in many ways unavailable. You just hired a guy who won Good Guy awards in this town. Did that factor into your decision? Was it important to you to get a general manager who's going to be more accessible, more than your last two general managers were? And if I could just follow up with Elton, is that important to you to be more transparent and more available to the media and other people as well?
Look, I think we're at a new point in our team's development into hopefully NBA championship. And we need to be attracting talent here. And certainly Elton's image and his personality and who he is as a person, all of those things were real positives. But by the way, leadership and managerial skills and the things that you got to do in the front office that aren't just about image, he's got those too. So I think that, but certainly that was a huge positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll lead with honesty, integrity. I'll try to be as transparent as I can. There's certain things I won't discuss, and individual players, medical, other teams' players, things like that. I just can't. But I'll be available for sure, and I'll take the hits. When there's decisions made on the basketball side.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm taking the hits. That's just what it is.
Jess Camarado for USA Today. Elton, I know the ultimate goal is to win a championship, but what are your immediate goals right now?
Immediate goals are to develop this young core. It was Joel's first time in the playoffs. It was Ben's first time in the playoffs. We talk about adding a third superstar. We might have that third superstar in this room right now, and fourth. Like, we have that much talent. They're young, but we have that much talent. So just development and getting farther than we did.
Elton and Josh, Rich Hoffman, The Athletic. Of all the candidates you interviewed, Elton had the least amount of experience. I think you hired him as the 7th GM last year. How did he impress you enough to get that, to get the job ultimately? And Elton, how do you think experience factors in to the job you're going to do?
Yeah, so Elton has 17 years experience as a player, and you can't discount that in terms of understanding, how this league works and how to get to the next level. And then, in his 2 years of management experience, we've been incredibly impressed. And then during the interview process, his vision and ability to lead was evident in terms of, how he handled the interview process, but also the broad support he had internally across the board. And so it became a relatively easy decision for us. He rose.
Yeah, we have a great staff in place. I'm not by myself in this. Like I said, they're top in the verticals, in my opinion, from analytics to CBA, whatever it is. I think we are top class. But I was prepared. I gave them my vision of the future of this franchise, and they believe in me, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad. Elton, we talked to, as far as free agency and attracting a superstar, we talked to Brett last year about the concepts of what would make somebody want to come to a team. Right. And the general idea was that if you have cap space, if you have a lot of money and you have a couple superstars there, then that's going to be attractive, right? So what role really does a general manager play in kind of bringing that across the finish line, and what do you think he can do to help there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, of course, financial start, we have the cap space. Superstars, we have superstar talent, all-star MVP level talent. Coach, what Coach has done, his system, the way he relates to his players, I'm an add-on there. I can relate to the players directly. I've been in their shoes, and I hope that pays dividends. But absolutely, the money is first, most likely, the talent on the court, coaching, and then everything else should be a bonus. I mean, some people are in different phases in their life. Their children, where they are, where they want to live. But outside of that, I think we're there.
Jess Camarado again. Elton, you have quite the Rolodex of people that you know from around the league. Who are some of the people that you've talked to, whether it's other front office people or former players that have kind of helped you during this?
Yeah, I'll speak to one of the first people, and he's here. David Falk. Once this opportunity came, I just went down and had a skull session with him. Over our 20-year friendship, he's mentored me in the business of basketball. It's not just what I was doing. It was definitely the business of basketball. But I spoke to Mark Cuban. Like, what would you expect? I spoke to other general managers that I was friendly with. So, I used that huge Rolodex to gain an advantage for my presentation, for sure.
Elton, Kyle Newbeck, Philly Voice. The track record of former players as executives, not just in basketball, but across all sports, is kind of a mixed bag. Mm-hmm. What do you think you specifically bring to the table that will help you stand out and kind of rise above that group?
I think my approach. We answered the question about analytics. Like, I know that's a great tool. I'm not old school and trying to fight that and say, let me pick with my gut. I think those little nuances. The way the game was trending, I'm on top of that. I think I have the pulse of that. So I think that'll separate myself.
Elton, on the flip side, there are naysayers out there who feel like maybe you don't have enough experience or haven't been, in the fray enough in the front office to be able to be at this position. What do you have to say to those people? Yeah, no,
that's a fair question. But I'm fully confident. And again, I'm going to rely on my team, not just on the court, but off the court team. I can't keep saying it enough. We are, in my opinion, one of the top groups in the NBA, and we've been doing this 4 months. So it's not like this is the first time our group is going into this.
It's questions for Josh. John Johnson again. As a follow-up to what you had to say earlier, among the candidates that you interviewed, you said 10 or so. What was it about Elton, because it's far more off-the-court issues he's going to be dealing with now than on the court. What was it about him that rose above those other candidates?
Yeah, again, I mean, his credentials his credentials and relationships and understanding of players as a former player and credibility with former players, his leadership ability and integrity. I think he can do all this off the court stuff. We're not shrinking violets. We put him through the paces, and he stepped up. Notwithstanding the fact that he's had less experience in management, we think he can do it. And he also had broad support amongst the leadership group, and they were doing it. They know each other, and that meant a lot.
Keith Pompey with the Philadelphia Inquirer. Josh, now that you have a general manager, are you going after a president of basketball ops? And if so, what's the timeline to fill that position?
Yeah, we're not. We're pretty happy with where we stand now. I think we have a leader in place that we think is going to do great, and we're looking forward to focusing on making this team great this season and making it great over the next number of years. And so we're going to get back to work and try to put the organizational stuff behind us.
Take a couple more.
Yes. Elton, if someone had told you way back when on draft night, just a few years ago, that in 2018 you would be sitting up here as the general manager of the 76ers, what would you have thought?
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed them, even though I'm turning 40 soon. I would. Draft night, you just think you will play forever. That's just how you feel. It's not the reality, but that's how you feel. So at the tail end of my career, that's when I started preparing, for this opportunity. Like I foresaw this, I worked at it, and yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been watching a press conference being held by the Philadelphia 76ers, where they're introducing Elton Brand, former #1 pick, as the new general manager for the team. Let's show you, or talk with you a little bit about his pedigree. He was the #1 overall pick in the '99 NBA draft and 2000 co-rookie of the year. Played in the NBA for 17 years, including parts of 5 seasons with the Sixers. He's a 2-time NBA All-Star, reading from the Sixers press release here, talking about some of his experience. And in 2016, Brand worked in a variety of basketball operation roles for the team, most recently as Vice President of Basketball Operations for the 76ers and General Manager of its NBA G League affiliate, the Delaware Bluecoats. You heard some of the praise being heaped on him there by Joshua Harris. Questions from the media, including Fox 29's Kristen Rogers. Harris, in the news release, said, "We're thrilled to announce Elton Brand as general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers. Called him unique talent who is intelligent, hardworking, and has an incredible feel for the game. This is a players' league, and Elton's strong relationships and commitment to culture are very important as we grow this team. We're excited to have him as our GM as we work toward our goal of winning an NBA championship." Obviously, he inherits a team as general manager with some young talent, former number 1 draft picks. You've got Joel Embiid, Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons. It's certainly an interesting role he's taking on there. I want to take you back live to Maryland, where we're awaiting a news conference after a shooting. The Fox station in Baltimore is reporting, according to a law enforcement official, that 3 people have been killed. This shooting occurred, seeing some references to Perryman, Maryland, or Aberdeen, Maryland. The shooting happened at a Liberty Support Facility, which is a portion of the Rite Aid Distribution Center. Again, we're hearing multiple people shot. Law enforcement telling Fox in Baltimore 3 people have been killed. We're waiting. A news conference is supposed to begin at 11:45. Here's some video from earlier of a state police helicopter landing at the site. Let's take a look at live video here. This is the same chopper still over the scene. Harford County, Maryland. The sheriff's office there says that they began investigating the report of shots fired in the area of Spasutia Road and Perryman Road. They encouraged people to avoid the area. They confirmed the shooting, said the situation was still fluid and to avoid the area. They reported on Twitter that deputies were dispatched to the reported shooting at 9:09 a.m. Thursday morning. And again, we're awaiting a news conference with more information. A reporter on the ground for Fox Baltimore is saying that authorities say 3 people have been killed in a workplace shooting in Aberdeen. And they expect they're attributing that to the Associated Press. And again, we're awaiting that news conference at 11:45 a.m. There's a huge police response to the shooting scene. Chopper shots right now are courtesy of WBFF in Baltimore. That's the Fox affiliated station there. We've also had some shots from WMAR, the ABC station, and some of the ground shots have been WJZ, the CBS station in Baltimore. Yeah, I'm going to stay with this situation until the 11:45 news conference and keep bringing you information as it comes in. I want to show you, this is a live picture of Christiana Hospital in Delaware, where some of the victims of the Maryland shooting have been taken. Looks like our chopper is moving off that scene, so we'll take you back to the live shot from, that's the past video of the helicopter landing there. Let's get you to, there's a live shot from WBFF in Baltimore. Some of the victims of the shooting have been taken to Christiana Hospital in Delaware. Fox in Baltimore is also reporting that some other victims have gone to get you the details there on where they went. Fox Baltimore says that some of the victims, they have several victims who went to Hopkins Bayview Hospital. They're going to brief the media at 12:30 today. First, we're expecting in about 5 minutes a news conference from Harford County Sheriff's Office about the shooting. They're encouraging the public to follow them on Twitter and on Facebook, where they'll be streaming the news conference also. And their latest note, please remember to follow us for official information. Help us eliminate the rumors that are floating out there. So Harford County urging the public to get official information from them. And they'll be holding a news conference to put out more of that. Harford County, Maryland Fire and EMS posted to Facebook that they're working the shooting incident at the Rite Aid Distribution Center, saying the scene is still fluid. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan tweeting that he'd just spoken with Hartford Executive Barry Glassman and Hartford Sheriff Jeff Gaylor to express the state's continued support. Chopper overhead showing the large police response that's there at the shooting scene in Harford County outside the Rite Aid Distribution Center. Podium and microphone is set up, ready for the news conference. It's expected to begin momentarily. Fox Baltimore is reporting that, according to multiple sources, the shooter is in custody. That's Fox Baltimore, WBFF in Baltimore, Maryland, reporting that, according to multiple sources, a shooter is in custody in connection with the Rite Aid warehouse shooting. Again, we're expecting police to provide an update momentarily. Let's listen in here. Actually, we'll wait for the news conference that's occurring momentarily.
situation. I think we are still waiting on a few other law enforcement to arrive before this briefing begins, so it still could be a few minutes before that happens. Now, right now, I know that you guys have been reporting that this is a Rite Aid distribution center. Now, it's a building adjacent to it called the Liberty Support Facility. We did hear a little bit from Susan Henderson, who's the spokesperson for Rite Aid, earlier this morning, saying that they do have Rite Aid team members on the way here en route to pay attention to what's going on here today. They also said that they do have human resources that are handling the situation as well. But clearly right now, this is a law enforcement situation, as 3 people we're hearing reports have been killed in this situation. We do have several other victims. We don't have numbers on that. We're hoping to get those numbers here at this press conference that was scheduled to begin at 11:45, although it appears that that will be somewhat delayed. They did tell us that they would get it on here as soon as possible. They just wanted to make sure that they gave us accurate information. At this point, the last that we have heard from them was that a suspect was not in custody, but we have heard conflicting reports on that. They're hoping to clear that information up to us as they take the podium here in just a few moments, getting ready for this press briefing. Again, this was a Rite Aid distribution center. About 1,000 people work at the center. Right now, we've heard that that center is on lockdown. You've also reported that several schools in the area on lockdown. This is a massive scene, a huge response here. We saw at least 24 unmarked vehicles. I apologize. We're hearing right now that the sheriff and the county executive are about 5 to 10 minutes out. So that is the latest update. So that means that this press briefing won't start for at least 5 to 10 minutes. I would probably err on the latter there, guessing it'll probably be around 11:55 or so when this press briefing begins. But of course, we will keep you posted and keep you updated on any new information that we're getting. Right now, though, here in the field, they're staying pretty tight-lipped until that press briefing begins, wanting to control whatever information is getting out there. We have asked them pointedly several times if a suspect is in custody, and they have not confirmed that at this point. So we'll, of course, keep you posted if we hear any different. Live right now in Aberdeen, though, Joy Lambert, Fox 45 News. Back to you guys.
There you have the latest from Fox Baltimore's reporter at the news conference, awaiting the 11:45 newser. They say it could take 5 to 10 minutes for the county executive and the Harford County Sheriff to arrive. The county's Emergency Management Office has put out a statement that the Emergency Operations Center is partially activated due to the situation in Perryman, which remains fluid at this time. Citizens should continue to avoid the area. The Harford County Information Hotline in the EOC has been activated for family and loved ones. That phone number for family and loved ones is 410-838-5800. Again, that's the Harford County Information Hotline. It's being activated for family and loved ones to call. The number is 410-838-5800. You heard WBFF's reporter there in Baltimore saying that there are some conflicting reports about whether someone is in custody. They're waiting for an official announcement with details from the Harford County Sheriff's Office. It appears Baltimore's reporter is giving a live update. Let's listen in.
But that has since been delayed as we're waiting for them to get here. Now, they do say that they want to make sure that they get us the most accurate information. We are hearing at this point that 3 people have been killed, multiple victims. And, of course, as you guys have reported, Hopkins Bayview expecting to have a press conference at 12:30 talking about the victims that they have had come over there. Now, on our drive here, we actually did see several ambulances that we went by. The biggest thing, though, was those tactical teams, the FBI and the ATF, those unmarked cars. We saw dozens of them flying over here to try to respond to the scene. Now, just to give you a little perspective of where we are right now, this is the media staging area, which is actually a pretty big distance from where the scene is. It's about 1.9 miles away, but this is the closest they want us getting over here. So right now, this is Short Lane Road, Old Philadelphia Road in Harford County. And again, we are waiting on Barry Glassman and the Harford County Sheriff to arrive here at the scene to brief us on exactly what happened. Now, the shooting was reported around 9:09 this morning, again, at a Rite Aid distribution facility. Now, this was a building adjacent to the main building. It was known as the Liberty Center, and that is a smaller building. The warehouse overall, though, carries about 1,000 employees. We've heard from John Rydell, who mentioned that they couldn't have their cell phones with them while they're at work. So a lot of people still in the dark today as to whether their loved one is okay and what the situation is. Now, we are still waiting on numbers of exactly how many people were shot. We're also still waiting to learn more about the suspect information here. Now, when we first arrived to the scene, they said that there was no suspect in custody. At this point, though, we're hearing conflicting reports on that. Now, the sheriff, when we spoke to some public information officers just a few moments ago, they mentioned that they would clear all that up for us in the press conference on what exactly those numbers are, what exactly the deal is with the suspect. Now, at this point, we do know there's no more active threat at this point, but they are still on the scene, and this is an active investigation to figure out exactly what happened here this morning. Again, we are waiting on the sheriff and the Harford County executive to arrive. We were expecting them at 11:45. Right now, it is noon exactly. About 15 minutes ago, they said they would be here 5 to 10 minutes. So this could happen any moment here. We do see there are a few law enforcement over here still just talking about what exactly they know at this time, and hopefully they'll give us that information as soon as it becomes available to us. But again, we'll have that media briefing live here in just a few moments, and I will send it back to you guys, though, until that media briefing happens. I was trying to make it work. I was like,
we're waiting for a news conference with the Harford County Sheriff's Office to begin here in the Aberdeen, Perryman area of Maryland. Again, you heard the WBFF Fox reporter saying officials are confirming to the Associated Press that 3 people have died in this shooting. There are conflicting reports about whether a suspect is in custody, but it sounds like we're going to get the latest
next to him. Let's listen in.
I'm the Director of Media and Public Relations for the Harford County Sheriff's Office. With me today, I have Sheriff Jeffrey Gaylor and our County Executive Barry Glassman to brief you on the events of this morning. I just briefly want to remind everyone that this is still a very fluid investigation. Watching the reports this morning, there was a lot of misinformation already out and circulating. And so I please urge you to follow the Sheriff's Office on our social media feeds. That will be information that is confirmed and vetted through our office. We will continue to update you throughout the day. We will not take any questions at this time after the Sheriff and the County Executive statements. And I will let you know on Twitter again when the next media briefing will be. Thank you.
What's the Twitter name?
Harford_Sheriff.
Another tragic event for us here this morning in Harford County. To begin with, I want to thank everyone for their patience. Unfortunately, the county exec and I and all of our law enforcement partners have been standing here before. We stand here yet again today. Many people have been affected by the events this morning. And our prayers and thoughts and prayers of the Harford County Sheriff's Office go out to all those affected. We are so preliminary into this investigation. I know there's a million questions. We're not going to take any questions today. I know you have many, but as Christy said, it's so important that we deal in facts. There's families that are irreparably harmed from today's event. We don't want to make it as if you could make it worse. You certainly can. We don't want to be part of that. We want to release facts, so please allow us the time to gather facts and share those with you. I'm going to give you as much information as we can right now, even though it's very preliminary and it's very limited. At about 9:06 this morning, a report came into dispatch center from the Rite Aid Distribution Center of shots fired. Immediately, deputies, officers, troopers, other first responders responded. We were on scene just in over 5 minutes. Arriving law enforcement, fire, and EMS units quickly paired up together, got into the building in order to render first aid where appropriate, treat patients, and an attempt to locate a suspect or suspects. At this time, I can confirm multiple wounded and multiple fatalities. Based on what we know right now, and again, very preliminary, the lone suspect in this incident is in custody and is in critical condition at a local hospital. It appears to be a single weapon that was used, a handgun, and there were no shots fired by any of the law enforcement officers responding to the scene. We do not believe that there's an additional threat anywhere to our Harford County community. We have set up a family reunification center working with the county executive and our county partners at the Level Volunteer Firehouse. And again, this investigation is very early. I and our office will be happy to give you more information as it becomes available. Again, I ask you keep the victims of today's tragic event in your thoughts and prayers. And I also have to thank our fellow first responders. We have responders here from the federal government who were on scene within minutes, the FBI, the DEA, ATF, the state police, MDTA police, natural resources, the local municipal departments of Aberdeen, Haverty, Grace, and Bel Air. You name it, as we've seen, unfortunately, in our community before, when something like this happens, you can't have enough police and you can't have them fast enough. And we are very fortunate here that everyone works so well together and responds so well together that we were on scene and able to get as much aid in as quickly as possible. So that's what we have for you at this time. Christy will put out a little later when we're going to have some additional details, and I know you're anxious for them. We'll be as timely as we can. And the county executive did want to offer a few thoughts this morning. Sir?
Could I get your name, please?
Sheriff Jeff Gaylor, Gahler.
Thanks, Sheriff Gaylor. Barry Glassman, the Harford County executive. I just got off the phone with Governor Hogan a few moments ago and updated the governor on the incident so far as we know it. He offered all of his resources available under state government. We certainly appreciate the Maryland State Police, all the allied agencies that responded. I followed this probably from the moment the call came in on our dispatch and listened to the radio transmissions. Unfortunately, in today's world, we have active shooter drilling and drills, and I can tell you and tell our Harford County citizens that every agency performed at the top of their profession, and The response from all our allied agencies was great. Our volunteer fire and EMS system responded with medical units. So I am thankful to all the agencies that came out to help us today to get through this, which is becoming a too often occurrence, not only in Harford County, but in the country. So with that said, we really reach out to those families that are suffering right now, that have lost loved ones, and offer our services as we begin to get them reunified, not only with loved ones lost, but with workers that have been displaced. So I certainly thank all our courageous men and women that have helped us this morning.
Sheriff, are you suggesting that the suspect shot his or herself?
Jane, we're not going to give any additional information right now. Again, this is very fluid, and you know us. We will be sure to provide you the information as soon as we have it, so follow our feeds, and I will absolutely let you know when the next media briefing will be today, and hopefully we'll be able to nail down some of those other details and give you a better picture of what unfolded.
Can you
So
say
thank
whether
you-
the suspect
Thank you
was
so
out
much.
because of her own gun?
Thank you.
Again, you've been watching a conference from Harford County, Maryland, where police confirmed that multiple people were shot and multiple people were killed. The suspect in the shooting is in custody, in critical condition at a hospital, I believe they said. This occurred at a Liberty distribution center near a Rite Aid distribution center in the Perryman area of Aberdeen, Maryland. Again, they confirmed several killed and several wounded. A suspect is in custody. It was less than a year ago that Harford County mourned victims of a mass shooting at Advanced Granite Solutions. The shooter in that case was convicted of attempted manslaughter in Delaware. Charges faced in Harford County continue to work their way through the court. That's according to Fox Baltimore. And you heard the Harford County Sheriff and the County Executive just complete a news conference where they gave as much information as they're willing at this time, as noting that it's a preliminary investigation. Let's get you to a couple more stories that we had on the radar here in Philadelphia. Get those to you in one moment. I believe we mentioned we'd have the latest for you on the nomination to the Supreme Court of Brett Kavanaugh, and we do. Fox's Doug Luzader has been following this story. He joined Good Day Philadelphia this morning to talk about the latest.
And listen, a lot can happen over the next couple of days, but as it stands right now, both sides are kind of standing firm, and Republicans may be edging closer to voting on Kavanaugh. The lights of a Senate hearing can be glaring. No one knows that better than Brett Kavanaugh. And will Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who has accused Kavanaugh of sexual assault back in high school, be willing to face that kind of scrutiny? And President Trump says he wants to see it happen.
I'd really want to see her. I really would want to see what she has to say. But I want to give it all the time they need. They've already given it time. They've delayed a major hearing.
Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley has given Blasey Ford a deadline. She has to decide by tomorrow whether to show up for a hearing on Monday. But there are other options as well.
Either in an open session or a closed session or a public or a private interviews. That's 4 different ways she can choose to come.
But Democrats and Ford's lawyers say they want an FBI investigation first.
Well, I think saying you either testify on Monday or not be heard, I think is fairly outrageous. And what's really shocking to me is that there's a normal process for a Supreme Court justice nomination, and it starts with an FBI background check.
But if Ford is a no-show, Republicans are likely to move ahead with a confirmation vote on Kavanaugh, hoping that their own ranks will hold in the face of Ford's allegation.
It's interesting because back in 1991 in the Anita Hill case with Justice Clarence Thomas, the FBI did step in when she came forward with allegations. I think they did a 3 or 4 day investigation of Anita Hill, and they couldn't corroborate her testimony, so he was confirmed.
It was a narrow margin, one of the most narrow.
But some of the same senators who said that was a good idea are saying it's not a good idea in 2018, which is kind of weird.
And Anita Hill has been vocal about this as well. She's come forward and saying what she thinks should happen this time. So she's been vocal about this.
Reliving what happened in 91.
Again, that was Fox 29's, it was Fox's Doug Luzader reporting from Washington, D.C. first. And then you heard Alex Hawley and Mike Jarek, our Good Day Philadelphia morning anchors, talking about the story and the ties to the Anita Hill case from the 90s that involved the nomination of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. In South Jersey, police are still looking for a runaway alligator. Mullica Township Police say the reptile was last seen on Hamburg Avenue. Police released video after a woman driving down the street captured the roaming reptile on her cell phone. A woman who lives there says it was on her side yard. Neighbors are keeping a watchful eye on their dogs and other animals. Police suspect it was someone's pet that was probably dumped in a nearby stream when it got too big. So keep an eye out if you live in that area of Mullica Township. And one more story for you. This is our Jenny Joyce brought us this report this morning. The biggest kids consignment sale in the country is happening right now in our own backyard. That's right. The Just Between Friends event is underway at the Philadelphia Expo Center. That's where Jenny Joyce filed this report this morning. She was checking out some of the amazing deals priced at $10 or less. Here's her report.
Hey guys, we are here at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks, PA. We have a lot of stuff going on here today, and I'm joined by Tracy Panase. Tracy, this is Just Between Friends consignment shop. Do you have any idea how many items you have here?
We have a lot. We have over 400,000 items, so everything from clothing to toys, books, games, puzzles, and this was all brought in by 1,500 local families.
So this consignment shop is happening today through Sunday, so all weekend parents, grandparents can come here. They can stock up. I heard someone ask, hey, where are the Halloween costumes? So if you haven't gotten a Halloween costume yet, you have those too?
Yeah, this is a great place to get seasonal items, so Halloween or Christmas, like if you need Christmas pajamas, dresses, things like that, that will be here all weekend long.
Things that children might only wear one time in their life.
Right. Kids recycle through clothing every 6 months, and so that's why we're here every 6 months. So you can restock and save a ton of money on things that your children have outgrown.
All right, so Tracy, let's talk about this table specifically. So all of these items here on this table, they would retail for how much?
So everything on this table would retail for around $522, and you could buy absolutely everything on the table for $90. So you would save 83% off retail. And that's today through Saturday. Now on Sunday we have a half price sale. So many of these items are going to go half price. So instead of $522, it would be $45.
Wow, that is incredible. And we're talking Nike sneakers, brand new jackets, name brand jackets, and this toy. You were telling me about this toy.
Yeah, this toy, my kids are a little older, so I'm not familiar with this one, but this is $9 here at the sale. This retails for $80. It's something like this VTech toy. This is available at the store, at the sale rather, for $6. This would also retail for around $70 or $80. And plus you're going to pay shipping in addition to that. This is all here under one big roof.
So again, some new, some very gently used, but these discounts are unbelievable. So hey, we're getting ready for the holiday season already, believe it or not. So you can come here again to the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks today through Sunday. Do you need tickets or anything in advance?
Today is the only day that we have tickets. However, we're partnered with Wegmans, and if you bring a donation to the Community Food Bank, then you can get in free. You can also download a free pass on our website. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, completely free. Everybody is welcome. Strollers, children, everybody come.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy. If you guys are looking for something to do, come here. Do a little shopping. We'll send it back to you.